You know. Yes, people, welcome back to another episode of That Gonna Talk. And like I told you guys last week, we're back again in this same little spot on a Thursday for you guys around this little time frame. We like to come to you live. So much to dig into, so much to get into, so much to talk about. Arsenal's result yesterday. We're going to talk about the Everton game coming up. A lot of talking about English football. Has English football fell off in the space of 6 months? You people let me know in the comment section down below. And me and KP have a little segment, a little trivia segment, a game segment in the end of this video. So don't forget to look forward to that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Show the love and support for both channels, Cape Has Pausa and Gunner Street. Without further ado, KP, tell me how you're
hmm
feeling, my brother.
Um, Overall, I'm calm. You know how life be.
Zen.
Yesterday's game wasn't the best, but I think obviously, like I think a day afterwards, I think perspective kind of not changes things, but I think you'll see in the conversation. I think you'll be intrigued to see what I have to
Mm-hmm.
say. Um, Probably for the most part, but yeah, I think with the way other results went, I'm just kind of happy that we actually came out with, you would say, a positive result for an away tie first leg,
Yeah.
and obviously, um, just hopefully we have a better attacking performance against Everton is what I'm hoping for, and is what I'm really focused on. Just
Mm-hmm.
that is the bread and butter really of the season so far. Just
Mm-hmm.
handle that, do well, and then we see what we do next week Tuesday. I think it is. So yeah, I'm feeling good. How
Yeah.
about you? You're telling me.
Yeah, bro. I'm feeling good personally, bro. There's a lot to talk about. You mentioned after a day after that Leverkusen result, I know a lot of everybody coming out yesterday and said we were poor. The result, the performance per se was poor, not necessarily the result. But there's a lot to get into about that performance because it's not the first time we've seen one of those performances, and I don't think it will be the last. I think that's something what this season we have to come to understand, or not understand, not conform to it, but it's not gonna if it hasn't changed up until March, it's damn sure not gonna change anytime from here to the end of the season. Maybe in a one-off game, maybe in some one-off ties, but I think from what we see is what we're gonna get. But we're gonna get into a little bit of why that's the case. People, like I said, if you're now joining, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your comments in the comment section down below. So much to cover today, so many talking points. But we're gonna start off with yesterday's game. KP, I watched your match reaction, bro.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll give my overall thoughts of the game. Uh,
oh yeah, go ahead,
uh,
bro, go ahead, bro.
it wasn't a good game. From Arsenal, from the perspective of entertainment, chance creation. I think we really had 6 shots, ball retention, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it was the worst game. I think
Yeah,
when I kind of like re-thought about things, obviously, I think the first 15, 20 minutes, I like, because the way you started the game, I was like, okay, like we're looking to come and play football. There was some positive touches from Gokeres, some intent to play forward, some type of quick movements and stuff. But then, like after that Martinelli chance, that obviously yeah, he should have scored or could have scored, but yeah, we just kind of went into our shell. It was kind of wasn't doing anything. Like, do you know what I mean? Which was frustrating. And um, from when Saka's getting hooked in the game, where and rightfully so, there are probably a lot of players that could have got subbed, but I think Mikel used that as an opportunity to make I think a message like where I'm going to take off the franchise player, the captain of the night. He wasn't playing well, but I'm not afraid to take him off, or I'm okay to take him off like any other rest of you players if you're playing so below the level um, that you played. Um, but I think at the same time, I think what why is conflicting is what you said is the fact of the matter that we've been playing like this all season. Look where we're at. We're at. I'm saying like we obviously still in the final. 7, 8 games away, or a couple of wins away for potentially securing the Prem, Champions League. Yeah, like we haven't won this game, and I was all. I think what makes me sad because I was all chest, bro. I know you saw my short. You saw me when we
yeah,
talk. I'm
yeah.
like 3-0. I'm like, let's kill the game first leg because we can, and we've seen Arsenal do it before. And like with all due respect to Leverkusen, who showed a good showing for themselves. I think at top of Arsenal not playing that well. I think Leverkusen, I want to give a bit of credit to them in terms of the midfielders retain the ball well, utilize the space. Their striker Kafane caused a lot of problems to Gabriel, in my opinion, using his body well to hold up the ball and run into the channels and stuff. He's only 19, so there's that. But there's no players that I knew from Leverkusen, so I was expecting Arsenal to kind of handle business. But I think, but when you look at like, I'm pretty sure I watched the Brom Madrid City game and I watched the Chelsea PSG game. They were both open games back and forth. I think City had, especially before Real Madrid scored their goals, City had a
Yeah,
lot
so
of
he has some
chances.
chances.
had a lot of chances. Chelsea, for the most part, had a lot of good chances as well, dominated the game, but they both come out the tie basically done.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you trade an entertaining game for potentially risking conceding more? And
No,
how do the Arsenal fan base react to them? Would we be
100%.
happy with
100%.
amazing football but not conceding a lot of chances and losing, or would we be more happier with getting over the line? Because we seem like this everything. Basically, I say this to say sorry, bro. I'm not wondering this. We seem
No, no,
in a
no,
very
no,
much
no.
a get over the line type vibe. We're not in
Yes.
this. That's the football. Everything just seems like that, and it's a margins thing. Like we don't. Could we attack a bit more? Yes. Is Saka dead? Is Eze dead? Is Rice, as you Mendy, not can't play forward? Can Martinelli not take on his man all the time? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that it means the quality is going to always be there, but it's frustrating to watch us. But I think it's because one, we know we can do better, and two, um, like what I think, especially in Champions League, maybe the Premier League and domestic cups a bit different, but Champions League is about magic, man. And
Hmm.
as you said yesterday, most of a lot of the magic was what won a lot of games yesterday. I mean, you
Yeah.
saw it in the game week, and for many years, especially in the Champions League, me and you've talked about this
Yeah.
many years, bro. Lacking that X factor, I think that's the word that
Look at
tells you.
PSG. Look at PSG. They brought Cavara off the bench, 2 goals and an assist in what, 30 minutes?
Yeah,
Devastating cameo off the bench.
like
Devastating
it's
cameo.
it's 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 why like I credit Mikel, for taking off Noni. I was calling for even probably a Max Diamond at the time, but Noni sorry taking off Saka, but Noni came on. He was more positive, taking on his man more with more intent. Obviously, sometimes bad decision making or bad quality in the final part, but he ended up winning the penalty, I'll say, and some good intent trying to take on two guys in a tight gap, which I
Hmm.
got to credit. Havertz puts the penalty away. But the game was like you're watching it, just like
Because
that's like
again, KP, and it goes back to you mentioned it perfectly. That's exactly where I want to start. When you watch that game, even in the first half before they score, you could kind of see, even like I said, we start hot early, we played our football, but then once they start to settle in the shape, they start to see how we're playing. We start to, okay, let's just take our time, let's just try to probe on it. The game goes to it's a consistent narrative. It's a consistent theme with us. I want to start by saying this. I was watching some analysis by Thierry Henry, and I could not agree more, but he has the numbers to back it up. He showed the goals. I don't know if this was Europe or the Premier League, but they've went up by over what, 40, 60 goals in the last 3 years in terms of goals on the counter attack. This season, more than any other season, there's already 100 plus goals on the counter attack. And I think you can see it in the way we play from a Rice, from a Zubimendi. They might not want to take that risky pass, or they might not want to take that risky movement to draw them out of position to leave us vulnerable on the counter, because we saw that in moments in that game. When we started hot, KP, again, we started well on the front foot, but we were leaving a lot of space in behind. We were going man to man. Gabriel was having to deal with Corny a lot, who was, like you said, a very difficult ask for him and Saliba. Got Saliba on the car, and I think he gave Gabriel problems. That is kind of like that's kind of like everyone's go-to. And it started from the Sunderland game when we talked about it all those months back. I think that was in November, early November, all the way till now. We've seen many a team across Europe now, even implementing this against Arsenal. It might be a specific strategy. It might just be the mid block and try to see if we can take the game a little bit to them. Just have some good hold up play. Just be defensively really tight, and then take your chances when you can get them. Because these, again, we don't give away much chances. People say we played poor, but defensively, I don't think we gave away much to them anyway. Yes, we were sloppy from a set piece. As they fell down on the goal, that can happen. But again, they were stopped to shots from far. They had like pot shots. There was nothing really there, but they passed us open and ripped us to shreds to really create chances. And it goes in the stats: 8 shots to our 7. Both of us were 3 on target. They have 0.85 XG. We have 1.64. Obviously, we had a penalty. Great work by Noni. They had one big chance. We had two, if you count the penalty and the hit in the bar of Martinelli. So again, it was an even game. And I genuinely would feel, going back to the overall result, I would feel aggrieved by that performance, because I don't think Arsenal were poor, but it's not the standard we want, especially coming up ramping up at this age of the season. So I hear everyone's frustration. Don't get me wrong, but I go back to your point, KP. Are we playing football now to keep us in games, play those margins, because we're competing on so many fronts, and there's not a team in the world right now that has more pressure to deliver on all these fronts than Arsenal, at least to bring home one big trophy. And I think when you talk about the Premier League in terms of how that big that Everton game is, if City drop points, we could potentially extend that gap. you kind of look at the Leverkusen game and say, as long as we leave this game with a draw minimum, we could take it back home to the Emirates, turn on the style, beat them, and then go through. I think a lot of it is not only game management, but schedule management, what we're seeing by Arteta and his backroom staff. Will that come to hurt us? I don't know, which is why I said domestic trouble potentially down the Champions League, because you goes back to your point we talked about. That bit of magic and quality, can it dig us out of a hole if we have to get in a shootout? And I said it since last season into this season. If we go up against those teams that are going to force us into those predicaments where we have to get a shootout or show some quality or take the game to them, are we going to be brave enough to risk that element in our game defensively? Or are we just going to try to play the margins? And I think that's going to be like the defining line coming on to these next couple of months for Mikel Arteta, because he's in a really good window where he can win. But managing these games, managing the way you play these games, and managing the schedule with the injuries we also have to deal with, it's a big ask, especially in this point of the season. So this is big money time, man. Like you said, the playoffs. So it's gonna need a
Playoffs.
big response at the
No, no,
weekend, man.
like it's like I think as I'm at this stage now, and obviously I guess it's like I am in fully just back in the team onto the next one. Like it's that stage of the season where, as I said, you get you if we play bad or we don't play to a level, especially if we don't win, I'm gonna criticize, get it out, and I'm gonna move
Yeah,
on.
100%.
Like where the team is at, I think obviously I'll get into some perspective stuff a bit later. Deserves that, innit? But I think to your point, Nick, where you're saying teams kind of deploy their own tactics, which obviously will affect Arsenal. I think it's deriving from the nature of them knowing that we're not going to threaten their goal so much, so
Yeah,
they can step up a bit more. Like before, it used to be a low block is our kryptonite.
kryptonite.
Obviously, people
Yeah,
used to say, but obviously, I don't even think that was really true. I just think like we used to not finish a lot of chances whilst we faced teams that played low block. Now we don't create enough chances, and I think teams know that. So that, and our attackers, when they do get the ball, aren't ruthless enough. When they do have those 1v1 spaces or those open spaces to kind of put pressure on opponent, like Martinelli took on his man for the first time after Saka got hooked and realized, oh right, I can beat this guy at pace easily, and then done it a couple of times in the game. But it's like all game you didn't once test him. Like why do you not start the game like that? Why is your first thought not let me see if this guy I can cook him today? Like why are you guys all? It's what we are. So I feel like I've learned I've come to peace with it, and I think I come to peace with it because I think well at this point I very much think we're going to win the Premier League and the Carabao Cup. I think FA
yeah,
Cup obviously we should be beating Southampton, so putting us into the semi-final is good. Obviously, we'll see where we get to the draw, but Arsenal in the semi-final again against probably oppositions, all the oppositions that we probably can beat. I'll be confident. But I think in Champions League, I think yeah, like I think we'll have enough for Leverkusen, especially in the second leg because um when you face the teams like any like the playoffs, you get opportunity. It's not just one game, so you get to kind of suss each other out, see whose weaknesses, strengths, tactics, all that stuff, and then you kind of work on that. And I'm pretty sure in terms of the overall performance application wasn't good enough that we'll play
yeah,
better at home.
100%.
Probably maybe a couple of changes to the lineup as well. Maybe some players back fit maybe helps as well. Maybe Mikel does change some things, but um, and I think in the next round, even though Bodo Glimt also smashed Sporting, and we probably will face them if we get through. That won't be easy, but I
Yeah,
expect us to
especially away at
maneuver
their
past
ground.
them. I think it's if we then get a Barcelona or Atletico in the
Is
semi
when we could,
final. I
yeah,
think is where the probably like because we probably will Arsenal do enough to probably nullify them, but then they whether it's a Alvarez or Griezmann or Yamal or whoever else on Barcelona, like they have a moment of magic where if it's tight 80th minute, you probably trust that they can pull out a worldie or a moment of class than what we would do to win that game in that moment. Like, do you know what I mean? Which is
but
why it frustrates me about Champions League because we probably have the build and the style to win it. If we just had that one player that was
mhm.
like ruthless or fear factor or just always deadly, like, do you know what I mean?
But the truth is, KP, I do think I do. We had the magic last season, and we blew away PSV in the round of 16. That quarterfinal against Real Madrid, that tie was cracked open because Declan Rice had two moments of absolute magic from those free kicks. That's also magic. That can be the magic you can get. So maybe it's a set piece. That's some magic. Maybe it could be that. But against PSG, where obviously you can't slap a world, you're not slapping a worldie in. What other things can you look to break down the team? And for me, I think again, I don't know if this is down to game management from the players in terms of their fatigue, but when we get to that half block where we have teams in their pinned in their half, the movement from the front line and the midfield is so undynamic, like it's so dead at times that it confuses you because you're able to pass through their press so easily. We know we can knock it through them. We know we have the ability to get them where we need them to get. But sometimes you will see we timber push into the half space, but then Rice might not want to make that pass because he knows he's back there by himself, and then he has to track back to get the ball and then still bring it back forward. So maybe he might not want to take that pass. Maybe he's comfortable just giving it to Saka to make something work. But then Saka's double team, so he has to then switch it and bring it around, and then the cycle goes over and over. And then I think that's where we start to see the poor, lethargic looking performances. I don't know how you combat that, especially when you have certain personnel missing, like Odegaard. I think Odegaard would have been a big help yesterday, just getting on the ball, give us some more, maybe taking a bit more impetus. Norgard yesterday, I thought would have been a good introduction to the team as well. But again, I also get from Mikel Arteta, you see a Spurs, a Chelsea, a City, they already look like they're gone from the Champions League after one leg. So you still have to play the game somewhat smart. You don't have to win every single game. I've seen Real Madrid get battered for pillar to post for 175 minutes and win a tie in 5 minutes against the same Man City, better Man City teams actually. So again, man, that's just the Champions League for you. You have to have the quality, you have to pick your moments, and you have to be very strategic in how you go about winning this competition. So overall, KP, you said you believe in that we're gonna have enough to get over the line. You mentioned some changes. Do you see anything from Leverkusen that you want to be changed for next leg of the tie?
Um, I would bring in Kai in the nine. I would. Um, if Ben White is fit and Saka's going to start that game, I would bring in Ben White. Not that Timber played bad yesterday for me. I think he
Mhm.
actually probably was a better player. I said this is my friend, a better players, and was the one trying to take more risk. But I think you would want the quality of Ben White, both in terms of
In
his
those
link up with
positions.
Saka, his passes with Saka, and just the positions that I think and the delivery into the ball, sorry, delivery into the box. And I think Kai Havertz is not that Goku's played bad yesterday. I think his touches were better, but obviously I just think that there's something missing, like the way the team plays, or the way
Yeah.
this team plays, and I think we play better with a Havertz, Marino, probably Jesus when
Moreno
he's at
type
full
profile.
fitness than anyone else. I think it brings everyone in. I think there's a bit more central play because you can play it to that front man and they can make more intelligent passes and drop into spaces, and the team moves and flows a bit better, especially when we're a bit stale. Um,
I have
but
a
I
question for
really like.
you.
What about
I
you?
have a
What would
question
you?
for you. I saw him bring Eze off for Jesus behind Kai. I have that Kai Jesus link up. Would you go Eze off the left, maybe Jesus or Kai in the 10 and Jesus up front, maybe something like that? Would you go Eze off the left, or would you continue to play Eze in the 10?
Um, I could also go with that. I think I probably more likely probably would go with that, just off the
Mm,
basis of if Trossard isn't back fit,
yeah.
and even if he is fit, obviously I think his form's been up and down. And Martinelli is also an up and down player, and
Mhm.
if Trossard isn't available, it's possible maybe Martinelli starts on the weekend against Everton, um, unless he does the lineup that you're talking about and puts Eze on the left and puts Havertz in maybe a Jesus from the start or Gokras, whoever he goes with. But yeah, I wouldn't be against that at all. Um,
Yeah.
but I want to see just the intent in the football, like because for me, um, it's about how you start a game. Like, the game's gonna be 0-0 now or 1-1, 90 minutes. Like we're at home. You need to first 20 minutes play with that intent, create chances, put pressure on the goal. If you don't score, that doesn't mean now, okay, let's manage the game for
Just
the next
sit
20 minutes.
back.
No. It means keep going until you do score. Then maybe if you want to manage when you're 1-0, I can understand that because you're actually leading. Then maybe you go again. But I don't want to see like we're talking about Saliba to Gabriel, Gabriel to Saliba, Saliba to Rice, Rice, looking no one pass to Timber, Timber to that. I don't want to see that for like 5 minutes of the game because it's like, bro, time is going down, the seconds are counting down, minutes are counting down, and you're causing more pressure, which is gonna go flow through the crowd and all that stuff in it. But
100%,
obviously,
bro.
big up BBK in the chat. Obviously, every single time. Make sure you
Big
guys go
up, big up.
subscribe to the channel. He's like me, man. We had egg on our face. Me and him were going all boisterous for the result because
What did
that's
BB
what
what,
we
what was
expect.
what was BBK's
He went
prediction?
4-0 as well. Still, like me and him went saying this end the tire, and then look at what these boys are doing to us. But
Hey man, we've seen them end the tight before, man. So we've seen them end the tight before, so I know it's frustrating. But I want to ask you, KP, about English football. You see, Arsenal and Newcastle, funny enough, are the only teams not to come away with defeat from the first leg of European games. We see, like you talked about, Tottenham got beat 5-2. Chelsea got battered 5-2 as well. We saw City absolutely. I was a shock for me. I was not expecting City to lose 3-0. Maybe lose in the Bernabeu. Anybody could lose on the day in the Bernabeu. Real Madrid have quality, of course. But 3-0 and to obviously get ran over in that first half, genuinely could have been 4-0, 4-5-0. Brahim Diaz had a good chance in the second half. Vinicius missed the penalty. Do, do you see, I hear a lot of people talking, especially some of these big pundits saying that English football, especially with the style of play, being slow, being more pragmatic, focusing on set pieces, is not working in the Champions League. What are your thoughts about some of those takes coming out about English football and European football nowadays?
I, I think I would agree with the narrative if all the English clubs, or like five or six of the English clubs, didn't finish in the top eight. In the
Mm,
group stages where everyone's facing everyone, and it's one of those situations. I think obviously in this first game, first knockout game round, obviously it's looking more peak because um, everyone's got beat, or it's only Newcastle and Arsenal have got a draw. Um, other teams you could say that their game is done, but I think it's an easy thing to say because
mm.
Chelsea, probably for the most part of that game, were probably well. Then obviously capitulated. Spurs are Spurs, and obviously City. Pep wanted to over anticipate Real Madrid and change the team and do stuff. And Real Madrid, after that first goal, they kind
Your tails were up.
of they became Real Madrid. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
their
which can
tails were
happen.
up. Mm,
So, but I think at the same time, like the in terms of like maybe we're talking about just attacking players. I think around Europe, I think those teams have better attacking players than our teams. I think we have overall better teams in general. But like if
yeah.
you're talking about like individual quality, you go some of these teams like they have like players that are very very good. Maybe like you look at the midfield, defense, keeper. I think obviously Prem and teams are kind of clearer in it, but
Mm.
I don't know. What about you? What's your take on that?
But I do agree with you, but for a different reason. I think the take is lazy, but I think it's lazy for the fact that all those teams, barring Newcastle, played away from home. And whether you like it or not, anyone can go to the Parc de France, the European champions, and get beat. And that's not a Chelsea team that we're lauding about winning a Premier League title. We're talking about them in English media and other media that saying that, are they going to get top four? Are they consistent enough to get top four, top five spots? That's up in the air. That's the question. You could look when you look at City. City aren't the Man City from previous years, and anyone can go into the Bernabeu, especially with Vinicius Jr., with Valverde on form, with Courtois, who's an outstanding goalkeeper, with the quality they can carry, and get beat. When you look at Arsenal, like you said, the style of play we have and the organization from a Leverkusen, it's not a shock that if they get a first goal, it's not that game went from what we've seen from Arsenal. We've seen Arsenal have these games before on paper where sometimes we could struggle to get a goal if the team is real set up, organized wise. So I don't think any of those games where, yes, you can say maybe score lines are some big ones, and Spurs is Spurs. We don't even have to mention them; they're shocking. But when you talk about playing away from home in Europe, the onus is on the home team to go and get the result. So from an Arsenal perspective, not coming out of that game and still being technically nil-nil, it serves you in your benefit going into the next game. Absolutely. Because again, we could talk so much about winning away from home in Europe. But again, the benefit you want to have is playing home in that second leg. So the tie, when it's in the balance, is at your home ground in your favor. And half of those teams don't have that anymore going into the next round of games. And I think Arsenal played it smart. Well, it's only played it smart if we go on a win. So we have to go on a win. We have to go through this. We have to go
But
through this tie.
but,
We
but
have to go through
you
this
can't
win.
even say that. I think the other teams made our result and made the feeling. Maybe I can only speak for myself. It made it way
Yeah, yeah.
less. Like I was way less angry, way less annoyed
Mm,
after the full time of those games than after full time of
yeah.
our game, because then I watched those games, and maybe you could say that they had chance, but it's like that they have so much to do to try and overtake. They're doing historical,
Yeah,
comebacks,
yeah.
three, down, score 4 goals, no return,
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. Innit? Whilst Arsenal can easily win 1-0
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stink it,
100%.
and when not that we should do that. Obviously, and I'm with BBK and what he says here. Um, Obviously, I
Going
want
on
a
the reverse
4-0
fixture.
reverse picture because I called it, and I think we can easily do that. Obviously, if Arsenal get into flow state, but obviously, yeah, like I think as frustrating as the way we play or played is, like it's given it's as you said, we've not lost the away tie. Obviously, we didn't deserve to draw that game. I will say that free. That the penalty, you can argue, is a bit soft, is a bit, if it's not given, you're not gonna complain. If it's given, you should complain. But if it's given to you, that's what you want. Obviously, Havertz puts it away, we get ourselves a draw, and we go back, and it's and undeserved. But when you're not playing well, when you're not your best, our flaw is becoming now these type of results where at minimum we draw. You know, the United,
Mm.
United game was more of an anomaly because we've only lost 3 games this season, and of those 3 games, you would say probably like last minute Villa, last minute United game.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously Liverpool worldy free kick, but for the most part, like it's close losses. And when we've drawn those games, there's been last minute equalizers here and there. Like
Hmm.
I know you've seen the Chelsea game at home, the Brighton game last time. We've been able to smell our way to wins when we're not playing well, and kind of have a flaw. Like City yesterday didn't play well, they got blitzed. Like
Hmm.
Spurs don't play well, get blitzed. Like teams get blitzed,
Yeah,
and
100%.
they have a lot of mouth and talk for our team. And end of the day, like some of these fans of their teams on like have no, like you would love to be us where you could play bad and say not even have a like Bayer Leverkusen, that was the best chance was the header. Like apart from that,
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah,
create anything
exactly.
else in it. Like which is expected from Arsenal, which is why it just frustrates us as fans. It's like a merry-go-round because we get frustrated because we know our defense is gonna be good. We're gonna be in games, so we want more from the attack, but the attack don't give us more. So if we don't score the chances that we do get, then it means that's why I understand why we play the way we play because I feel like Mikel knows the attack isn't clinical. I feel like he knows the players aren't good enough. They're not ruthless enough. So to play a
Hmm.
football that exposes them to a lot of chances, maybe leaves us open and players that will probably not put the ball in the back of the net, even if you create more chances for them. They probably will score, but you probably have to create 50 chances for them to score 3 goals, like we've seen before, which is long. When you might as well just play the margins and not try and make sure you don't lose, and maybe you probably do nick a goal here and there. But it's annoying, it's frustrating.
Yeah,
But
it is frustrating, but again, I would have wanted to kill that tie. But when you look at, like you said, the other results and you compare the results around Europe, especially from the English teams, it kind of makes you say, well, okay, you didn't lose, you could go and win the next leg and you could go through because half these teams are out, man. And then it just goes to show you all this pressure about playing a certain style of way. And again, these teams were trying to go and play a certain style of way. They were trying to go and play, but when you don't have the quality in the front three, like again, you can make the argument that we necessarily don't in comparison to a PSG, a Real Madrid, and those other teams. Then that shows that quality when the game gets tight shows. And I think we're gonna see what that comes down to for the rest of this tournament, man. But yeah, it was not the best performance yesterday, but we have to go again, KP, and that transition us into the next game. Big up AFC always, every single time. You already know.
big at AFC always, man. Shout out. Hope you're doing well, bro.
Big up
Um,
AFC
Shout you
always,
out.
man.
But yeah, Everton game, man.
Yeah,
Obviously,
Everton game.
we've got to
Yeah,
look back into the Prem. And I guess I'll ask you a question.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
do you because I think like sometimes obviously because a lot of most of us haven't we don't enjoy the attacking football. Sometimes we see a lot of that type of performance lethargic, and I guess that's where some of the I guess some if we want to say Arsenal worry, that's probably the last kind of worry that we like. It may cost us in some games, and I think probably it looks more like a Champions League where I'm looking at probably against the tougher opposition with more deadlier players. Probably, I think
yeah.
where in Premier League now we're facing a lot of teams that aren't, of the same at the top of the league. Like they don't have the same kind of finishing qualities and deadly players to kind of kill teams. In it, um, would you make a lot of changes for this game from the team that started on? Not a lot of changes. When I say a lot of changes, like maybe like 3 or 4 changes, or would you kind of run a similar type of lineup with a couple, 1 or 2 changes?
I would make some changes. I would make some changes. I would probably give one of the midfielders either Zubamendi or Rice a rest because again, what institutes the footballer we want to play with how teams are setting up against us, you're gonna have to take risks and you're gonna do a lot of running. So you have to manage a Zubamendi, you have to manage a Rice because they're gonna be asked to play a lot of games and put a lot of weight on their legs. So I'd probably make one we're playing Everton. With all respect to Everton, they're a good side, they're a decent side, but we should be beating them. And we're also at home. I'd give Norgard some minutes in midfield. I do think when he plays, especially with Eze in there, Eze gets a lot of the balls in the type of spaces he wants to threat opposition. He gets the ball in around the box on that edge of the box. You see how he scored against Mansfield. Norgard is the one that assisted that, and Norgard and Eze normally play really well together. That assist for was it Jokeres against Kairat goes from Norgard into Eze in behind to Jokeres. So I do think that link up has been something we've consistently seen. I would like to see more of that in the Premier League. I'd probably go maybe Rice and Norgard at the base with Eze in the 10. If Trossard is fit, I'd want to see Trossard again because again, even though him and Martinelli can give you, it's like whichever one you don't know what you're gonna get in some games, especially so far what we've seen at the back half of the season. I'd probably give Trossard a run to see what he can give us because he gives us that creativity on the left wing that I think is very instrumental to how we play. I'd probably bring on Jesus just because Jesus hasn't been given a lot of minutes. I'd probably give him a goal and then save Yokerez's legs. And I respectfully, I don't know, I don't think I would start him, but I want to see Max Doman because my thing is there will become a time this season, especially if you want to win trophies, where that brother is going to give you something. He's going to have to give you something. You don't have that types of quality on the bench. You cannot have that a player who against Mansfield, grown men, just came back from injury, and he's able to rip it up like that in men's football at 16 years old. Nah, that Matt Doman has to get some kind of minutes against Everton. 10 minutes at the end of the game, fine. But we need to get him integrated because that's an essential talent that is going to give us that magic, the same magic we talked about. I don't want to put the onus and the pressure on the 16-year-old, but that's the type of quality we're going to be asking for at the back half of the season. And maybe you brailed him up for next season. So yeah, I want to see Norgard, Trossard potentially as in the 10, and some minutes for Doman.
I do not want to see Trossard start.
I
Like,
hear it. I also hear that. I also
given
hear
his
that.
form, and I always say when Trossard comes back from a knock or injury, I always don't feel like he's not great, and I feel like that's why he's not been in great form. 'Cause I think the last little knock, he's been back, but not even
Yeah.
to that. He does start. I'm not really worried, anyways. I want to float an idea, and obviously we talk about obviously AFC always says let's go back to old school 4-4-2 formation, try something different. Obviously, if he goes with that 4-4-2, put Havertz and Jesus or Havertz and Gokeres. Uh,
That did work too for a time. That did work too.
yeah, so we'll see. Um, he says obviously drop Saka for Carabao Cup final, start Diamond. He has the weapon to change things, similar to what you're saying. Shout out obviously Waveland. Hope you're doing good,
Big
my
up.
bro. Obviously, make sure we're smashing up the like button, guys. Obviously, if you're in the stream, make sure we hit that nice and like not nice and early, but hit that very, very quickly if we haven't. Um, I think I would like, obviously Zubimendi's been disappointing. Obviously, whether he's
Yeah.
fatigued or anything, I think just overall, like Zubimendi's meant to be a boss DM, a higher level passer,
Yeah.
line breaker, and I don't think we've seen a lot of that at Arsenal consistently. Obviously, it is his first season. Obviously, we caveat things, but even like yesterday's Champions League, it's not good enough, man. And obviously, it's like
Yeah.
Rice seems to be the one that's trying to get on the ball more and try to make things happen. But his game is not predicated around constantly breaking lines and doing those kind of things. And it's kind of annoying. I wouldn't want to play. I don't mind playing Norgard, but I think even against Everton, I don't mind playing a more attacking midfield like lineup. Trying
That's
like,
true. That's true
like
too.
I would go like I personally, I think what we was missing again in that game, I think we were missing
Mm.
a lot of Lewis Skelly in the midfield, a player that can receive the ball, drop a shoulder, let it run across his body, carry and break lines through that. Wants to break lines actually through passing, which he does very well, but he can do passing and carrying. And I think that will draw players into him, which can release late, and then that opens up space. I think we'll just players will receiving it and try and no one was standing within the block to want to receive it back to goal or like an Eze or Saka coming in and want to receive it and do quick interlink because there's no one around them and no
Yeah.
one was trying to carry it. So we needed that. So maybe against this Everton game, which they'll probably go a bit low blockish, David Moyes and try counter, probably be their setup. Like we need to play that might come in. You can give Zubimendi a rest. You can give. You don't have to play. Two defensive like-minded midfielders against Everton, and maybe you can play another attacking player. Like I would probably go with probably if Ben White is fit and can go. I've seen he's been on the bench for the last couple of games. We can go. I'll put Ben White in there, give Timber a rest for Tuesday. I would put Calafiori back in, give just not that
And
Hincapié was bad,
KPRS.
but just to give a bit more of an
Yeah.
attacking
Yeah.
fullback. Calafiori brings. He's had enough weeks now where he's not been having to play, so we hope his body's there. I would put Saka in the 10. I would put
Okay.
Madueke on the right, and I'll put Eze on the left. Is what I
This is
would
a
do.
very interesting lineup.
I
This
would,
is a
I
very
would.
interesting
It
lineup.
sounds all mad, but it's like I'm thinking, like, try and see it. Even in just first 30, 40 minutes, that team shouldn't be conceding anything. Like in terms of you can still be consistently put Rice at the 6, maybe you have to do with Skelly, and you still have a because I want to see something. Like I want to
My,
see
my,
like
my,
is it
my question for that lineup is that the blueprint that you want to see? For example, if you see that and it does pretty well, do you want to see that as a springboard for how the team looks going forward, or is that just so you're focusing on Everton? This is how I line up for Everton based off of the
no, just
opposition.
for Everton, obviously, and it's obviously when you try certain things to see can this be a certain like can this partnership work? Does these certain profiles enable us to play differently? Because obviously Miles hasn't played in a long time. Like, I'm pretty sure when he plays, he's gonna want to have a level of want to make a difference, especially if he's able to play in midfield. Saka, I think, was struggling a bit. He's lost a bit of pace, a bit of himself. And we can maybe just talk about Saka a bit quickly. Like he's lost a bit of himself since the injury. Probably it will happen, but I don't know if it's a part that he'll get back. Um, get back to that same quick step because obviously one he's built he's grown got a bit more stockier legs
Yeah.
now he's had injuries you're gonna lose a bit of that explosive power in general plus you might not trust to want to run at that full speed and full pace and turn of that so maybe his like arc of being an interior is better for him and obviously when that like Noni plays it might suit and obviously I'm not saying Eze I don't want to drop Eze so it's like put him on the left maybe he gets a bit more ball facing 1v1 against someone and
And
drifts inside and stuff.
the truth is about Eze for me. In a midfield with Zubimendi and Rice, it can work, but that's not a dynamic enough midfield in terms of enough movement. Like sometimes Eze could go in the pocket and the ball might not get to him. It's just hard for him to get on the ball and do the things he wants to do and show that quality because he won't have that space more times than not to execute the types of passes and get in those spaces and the areas he really wants to get in. So I do hear about getting Eze accustomed off the left. And Arteta's not against it. I've heard in multiple press conferences he says he's open to the idea and having these players play together. He talked about Odegaard playing there, but Odegaard has obviously been in and out of the team for the whole season. So it's been difficult to really see that pairing go together. But I do hear you when it turns about Saka playing in the 10 because against Wolves and that start again that Wolves performance is one we could bury in the trash if we win this league. But for moments in that game, especially early on, Saka in the 10 was brilliant. Saka was picking up really good spaces. He was dynamic. His movement was great. He was linking up the player really well. It allowed us to get forward, play forward, and allowed him to get in those dangerous areas where we know Saka could be dangerous in terms of popping up on the left with a cross, popping up on the right, cutting inside with a shot, shooting from at the edge of the box, making those inside. Look, the goal he scored was a run off the back of the defender's shoulder. Nice little header he scored through the keeper's legs. So Saka's not had the best season, and you could tell that he's lost a bit of that physical dynamism that made him him. But again, that's still Saka at the end of the day, and his floor when he's dropped off is still not as bad as other man. Because Phil Foden didn't even play yesterday at the Bernabeu, and you can imagine the headlines if the shoe was on the other foot. If it was Bukayo Saka not getting minutes in the Bernabeu match in a big Champions League game, it would be collapsed in the media. So again, obviously Saka didn't play the best game, but I don't want people to zone in and then harp on the fact that he had one bad game and then he's been shit for time. No, I do think that there's been some element where he's been missing, where his game has lost a bit of a touch. But I do think he will get back there, or if he doesn't get back there, he's going to find ways to work around. He's a young player, he's adapting, and obviously he will get better.
Yeah, that's that point. I think Saka's level and his quality is too high that he wouldn't. He would just find different ways, and because he's been using multiple positions, he's been around the pitch. I think, and obviously he can also get back to that physical level. He knows how he goes in it. I think it's just difficult, and I think because he had his probably worst game or one of his worst games in the Arsenal shirt yesterday, I think everyone's now getting on to him because the media, obviously, outside
Yeah,
of
yeah,
us fans, when us fans, I see a lot of people turning on him, and it's interesting. Like I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
to have found out anything because I think there's been games this season where he's been our best player, we're outscoring, outscoring, beating his man
And no
constantly.
one and no one said anything.
Do you know what I mean? So it's about context. So let me get some comments in. AFC
Yeah,
always
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
read that one out. He says our attackers track back faster than they do going forward. Yeah, man. These guys will run forward. Like when we have times to transitional break, he's like you're then
They
moving
don't, bro.
lethargic. Like
Then
go,
just
it's only someone like Noni or Max or when Martinelli's on it in a game that goes with that intent and that pace and power to want to attack. Eze even does it as well, like lethargic. Obviously, he's always methodical. There's times and a place where you are methodical, but it also, especially when you're 1-0 down, like you should be attacking with some pace, man. Obviously, also apology for the spelling. I've had some sort of allergic reaction in my eyes. Swell up. I'm sorry about that, bro. I'm
yeah.
not worried
Sorry
about
about that,
spelling.
bro.
I always try to. I make a lot of spelling mistakes. I always try to read what you mean rather than what you said. But I hope you do recover from that soon. He says trouble with Saka is that he's been found out. Do you think this is true? I don't think he's been found
I
out.
don't I don't think he's been found out. I think you're gonna find that difficulty when it comes to anyone because Lamine Yamal even said it when he played Newcastle. He doesn't even understand how technical players thrive in that league just because of how the pressure on every single time you get the ball to feet. Like it's a madness. And we know Saka gets double teamed all the time. But again, when we see Saka one on one, 95% of the time he beats his man. And again, yesterday was a time where for one of the first times in a long time, I've seen Saka have a man one on one and not really take advantage of it. Like it's not too long ago against Chelsea, against Tottenham, in these games where he was beating his man. I think there was times in yesterday's game where he was cutting inside, but would just get blocked. And that's where you have to give Leverkusen credit. They defended really well. They marked him out of the game. But I don't think Saka's been found out. I can't say Saka's been found out when he's been one of literally our best attackers. So if he's been found out, I don't know what to say for the rest of the lot up there. Then that it's class. You know what I mean? But I don't think Saka's been found though. I do think obviously his game has to adapt. The GA is not there to fall back on. So when you make an argument with someone, you can't fall back on GA. But if you watch Saka play a majority of his games this season, Saka's had games where he's ripped, man, and just not got a goal or assist. Against Tottenham, I don't think he got a goal or an assist, but it should have been his assist. Like there's been so many games you could count like that this season. I don't think Saka's been found out. I don't. I can't say that.
Yeah, I agree. I will say that, but he definitely needs to do better. He says he plays like a
Yeah,
three hundred
hundred
pound
percent.
player, and I think now that he is our highest paid player, I think because I'm not even when I call someone out because it will say that it's not because I don't want you to earn that money. It's just more the expectation is higher because like you're that's what the money that you get paid is the representation of your status in the club, your what you your value, what you bring. So I think that also comes in terms of the expectation, the consistency, and I
Mm.
think like I want him to want to take games, take over games. Like I've seen that to go take the ball, drive past a couple of players, shoot, go and like go do that, win a penalty, go force the issue, like constantly, like and like do it, especially when the attack is not playing dead. Like that's your job, your role and your job now, your responsibility.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and let's see what he does. And let's see what says if he beat Leverkusen the second best defense in the league. Yeah, Leverkusen are second best in the league. He said if we beat Leverkusen, not sure we'll beat Bodo Glimt. Yeah, they're doing very well. Obviously, I think we could and should. It won't be easy at their away game, but
mm.
that's why maybe we'll probably take if Arsenal play the kind of slow game and leave with a draw, maybe a 1-0 win, and bring home to the Emirates against a team like Bodo that can clearly score goals against anyone. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And they did like to take a lot of chances. They play some really quick flowing football. And again, what has beaten Arsenal at key moments this season is that quick flowing football, like United did. United were popping it in the midfield. They created some good 1-2, some good chances from playing that quick attacking football. So I mean, yeah, Bodo could cause us a surprise, but I do think Arsenal have the quality. And I think over two legs and playing smart, I think that normally shines through in the Champions League. Yes, a team could go to another team, but when you talk about quality and seeing it through and tactically being smart, I do think Arsenal would just have enough to get themselves to a potential semi-final. But it's then when we get there, who do we have to play? Is it Barca? Is it Atletico? Which one of those teams is it? And do we have the magic? Even against Bodo, even against Leverkusen, not even taking them for granted. But do you have the quality if it dawns on you, if you have to win the game? Do you have the ability to? And I think why everyone is calling out Saka and why we're getting on to Saka is because he's that player for us. And if he doesn't do that for us, then it's not looking good because Trossard has not had the best second half of the seasons. Martinelli is inconsistent. Gyökeres is inconsistent as well, especially up there, very reliant on service. Kai Havertz in and out with injuries, but he's been getting the goals and assists. And again, this is something I also said when it comes to getting GA. If we're talking, I told this to Gianni and then man on a pod a few weeks ago. If we're talking about GA and players you expect to come into the team and deliver, so far, if we're talking about evidence in terms of goals to minutes ratio, it's been Kai. Kai is what, 6 GA, 5 GA, and what, 300 minutes? That's very impressive. He's scoring against Chelsea. He scored yesterday again. Like, yes, it being a penalty, but again, that's a massive pressure penalty in Leverkusen against a former team. So I do think Kai Havertz definitely might be the nine going forward for the rest of the season. And maybe he's the guy that gives us some magic in terms of some goals and big moments. But ultimately, it comes down to Saka. Saka's one of our highest paid players. He's the quality, and he's a player that we all know can take us over the line when on his day. So those performances got to get better. Absolutely agree.
yeah,
100% agree. But let's get to
completely.
this comment right here. It's a question. Bodo Glimt finished their season in the league. I'm sure they have and finished runners up. I think that was last season, and I think their new season just started. I think this week, funny enough, I think this is the first week of their season just starting back. Um, so yeah, that was their preseason. No, it's interesting to see how they continue to kick on in the Champions League, especially dealing with league football coming into play. So very, very interesting to see. But that pitch, in terms of how it plays, from everyone's talk about it being a plastic pitch, it being cold over there. I'm very interested to see how that's gonna play when we if we do go up against them. So very. It's caused a lot of teams some problems. So it'll be very interesting to see how Arsenal take on that proposition.
Yeah, I do agree. But um, before we do move on, obviously, we're going to round up soon. I do think we will be a better team when Havertz gets back into the nine. It's
Yeah,
not. I'm not
yeah,
even slighting Gokares. I'm saying, I'm saying, I think, especially when I've seen Havertz play this season, obviously, it just seems a bit more serious.
sure.
I guess maybe that's what happens when a player hasn't played for so long. Maybe they're hungry, but obviously, as long as he's fit, I think hopefully maybe these next couple of weeks we get to ramp him up. I do see Mikel making a couple of changes against Everton though, just
Yeah, I do
to
think so too.
spice it up and then have a good team, good
What's your score
little run.
prediction?
I'm gonna say 2-0. Maybe a bit
Okay,
more sensible. What about you?
I am gonna go 3-1 Arsenal.
That sounds a
I'm gonna
lot
go 3-1
realistic.
Arsenal. I
Sounds
do think I
realistic.
do I do I do think we're gonna I do again, and Arsenal have shown this. Whenever there's a moment where you just think, okay, we have to go and respond, you have to go and do something. So far this season, we've seen them go and respond, whether that be results wise or performance wise. We've seen that from this team. So again, in where we criticize, we have to be fair and give credit on the basis that they've shown an ability to respond, and whether that be results wise or performance wise. So I do expect us to bounce back with a very good win at home against Everton. But KP, before we go, I do want to ask you a quick trivia question. People hit the like button. We know that you're joining. Hit the like button. Leave your comment section in the comments down below. Get involved with this game. So KP, I've been posting some short form content on my channel recently, talking.
Amazing, amazing, amazing content.
Appreciate it, brother. And I've been trying to get some questions to people, just picking people's football brain, picking people's knowledge, seeing what people remember about certain players, what people rate about certain players, how you still feeling about certain players. One player that's been very polarizing has been a certain Robin van Persie. Now, for Arsenal, he scored a lot of goals. He's had some magical moments and some magical performances. The way he left Arsenal, what he went on to did for the opposition, not their name shall not be mentioned, was also magical for them. So I'm gonna ask you, KP, in his prime, I'm gonna compare Robin van Persie to a list of have 10 players here. So I'm gonna give you a list. You just tell me if it was better, and then I'll probably go through and ask you why RVP was better or if he wasn't better than X player. So
Okay.
starting off, Luis Suarez. Was prime RVP better than prime Luis Suarez?
No.
Nah, for me personally, KP, I think that's the best striker of that generation. I think Luis Suarez for me was unplayable, brother. Un
I think he's like top
unreal,
five.
bro.
I think he's like top five best strikers of all time. Like for
Luis
me, anyways.
Suarez.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me for sure that I've seen for sure. Yeah. For sure. Luis Suarez could do anything:
I think he's got
passing,
the most
dribbling,
assists. I think he's
shooting.
got the most assists for a striker in all time. Like I'm pretty sure.
I do think so. I do think so too. It's a mad, bro. That last season in Liverpool, that
That
first
last
season
season,
at Barca, that second season at Barca where he scored 40 goals in the league, beat Ronaldo and Messi to a golden boot. Listen, man, Luis Suarez prime unplayable.
cool.
RVP or Rooney?
Wayne Rooney.
And Rooney,
Rooney,
okay.
was crazy. But no, Waz
Nah,
is crazy.
yeah. RVP or Drogba?
That's a good one, you know.
It's a good one, you know. That's a good one, you know. I've been thinking, I've been
Okay,
cooking with these people. Get
I think
involved, get involved.
RVP is a better player,
Mm,
like probably just in terms of technical ability that in general. But Drogba was a good striker and a very
mm,
decisive striker in big moments, big game
yeah.
player. Won multiple Premier Leagues, won Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Was very pivotal for even for his country as well, even though they didn't like it. So
Uh,
it's hard. That's a good question.
mm. Is it the football purist or does career weight heavier? That's how that's how I'm kind of hearing the argument starting to frame out.
Uh, it's more like, so what do I rate? Do I, because I think RVP does has a lot of goals as well, but it's like, do I
Yes.
rate the type of goals? Do I rate when they score the goals? Do I rate what they won? Do I rate just the whole? Because I think people underrate Drogba. Drogba was a very good footballer as well, but
Mm. Very, yeah.
Do you know what? I'll say RVP for now. Maybe I
All
get killed.
right.
Maybe I get
All right,
killed.
all right. No, no, no. I hear it. Sometimes they gotta back the institution. Even though he left them with a snake, you have to back the institution. I hear it.
Mm-mm.
This is a surprise one because bro, I'm not gonna lie. I watched him and I rated him at the time, but I had to go and refresh my memory. RVP or Prime Carlos Tevez. Now, don't get it messed up. Tevez was also a baller, man. Scored some really good goals, really good technical footballer. Another similar type of footballer to like an Aguero, like an well, Aguero, but also like a Luis Suarez. I wouldn't say he is Luis Suarez, but he had that ability to just sometimes he slap one, score a goal out of nothing, make some magic. RVP or Tevez.
I really like Carlos Tevez.
I won Premier League titles with United, won the Champions League as well. Also won trophies in his career. Also a very decorated career.
I really like Carlos Tevez, but I'm gonna say RVP, man. RVP was signed into the Arsenal team just after the Invincible season or in that
Yeah.
time, but because they were still playing in and around that team. Um, with Henri towards the end of his era, and then
Hmm.
kind of for a long period carried the Arsenal burden when he
Hmm.
wasn't injured, just playing, scored very mad amount of goals. Like RVP, man. Shout out
Okay.
to Tevez.
RVP or Aguero.
Aguero.
Some stiff competition. This is another one. I think this is one of the greatest strikers in this generation as well. RVP or Benzema.
Hmm.
He's thinking, people.
I'll say
Get involved in the
Benzema.
comments.
I'll say yeah. Let's get. I'll say Benzema because of longevity of playing at that highest
Yeah.
level for time. Obviously, I know RVP started very young. Obviously, he won a Ballon d'Or in the end. He's won Champions League. He's won the World Cup. He's won. No, he didn't win the World Cup. Actually, he was in that squad, but
Yeah. Yeah.
like he won the league multiple times. He is a lovely footballer as well. I think RVP probably has way better finishing. Like RVP's ability to strike a ball on that left foot is out as well, didn't it? But
Hmm.
Benzema is a quality number 9. So I'll say Benzema.
Hmm.
Make sure we smash
Okay.
the like button, guys. Yeah, if you're
Come on,
tuning in,
people. Let's
you
get the
haven't.
lights, people. And this segment is special for you people. This is the extra segment we're throwing in here. We're trying to do these in the end of our stream. So please get involved, man. Let us know in the comments if you like this. Is RVP better than these players? I still have a few more, so you can still have a chance to get involved. Next, I think this is another very interesting one. RVP or Edison Cavani?
RVP.
RVP. I think RVP clears him. I do think Edison Cavani in his time was a good striker for what he was, but I don't think technically he was the level of RVP. And I don't think again you have to give RVP played in a really difficult league, grew up and like you said, carried the burden on the Arsenal team that for time you could argue wasn't really the best. Edison Cavani played for some good teams, scored some lovely goals in Paris, scored a lot of goals. I think their second highest scorer behind Zlatan before Mbappe came and did a madness and ripped up that whole stat sheet. But give it bigger Edison Cavani, but I have to go with you, agree with you. RVP or
Cavani's
Edison
one of those
Cavani.
nines with one of the best movements of all time. Like his
Yeah,
movement,
yeah, yeah.
ability to get chances and
Him
get
him and
spaces.
Suarez in the same team. I remember that 2014 World Cup, man. They did a madness, man.
Oh yeah,
Big up,
yeah,
big
yeah,
up,
yeah.
big up that team, man. And 2010 World Cup. And
2010,
when they had Forlan, when they had Diego Forlan.
Diego Forlan.
Diego Forlan, man. Big up Diego Forlan as well. Big up the whole Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
But second last one, no, third last one. I think you kind of answered this. I had this on one of my videos. RVP Aubameyang.
RVP.
RVP.
Yeah.
RVP Van Nistelrooy.
Van Nistelrooy.
Okay. Okay. That's a good
I
show.
think
No, no,
RVP is a
no way
better
RVP could get
technical.
in there.
RVP is a better technical player, but Van Nistelrooy scored a lot of goals, rivaled Henri for that. Was rivaling
Golden Boot.
Henri for that, yeah, golden boot. It was the striker that was leading United to goals at that point. Different type of striker, more of a poacher is Dutch as well, but was more of that renowned guy. Like he can put the ball in the back and it can sniff chances like that. I think RVP was obviously he's from a different generation to RVP as well, so I guess that obviously counts. Maybe RVP,
Hmm.
but I like is he's done it because he's done it in the Premier League before RVP was even a guy, and he was doing it, winning it with the best team in the league at the time as well. That was competing against Arsenal. So
Hmm.
Tough.
RVP, Harry Kane.
Harry Kane.
Harry Kane. Harry Kane. One thing, no, that he's left Tottenham. One other thing I will say is I couldn't rate him at Tottenham, man. I just couldn't. I just can't. I just couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't do it. Even the
I
football
think I,
purist in me
I I
wouldn't
think
allow me to do
as
it, man.
I towards the
I
end of
couldn't,
his
bro.
tenure is when I started to mature as a football fan. Like I wasn't
Yeah,
just always going to things in my Arsenal lens and my Arsenal
yeah.
bias as I grew up, and obviously just in general, like I started to just appreciate football. And so
Football,
I
yeah.
realized how good Harry Kane is. I think, as I said, obviously still a great player, but Harry Kane does is like, his longevity and the things that he's done for a long time in it,
Yeah.
and his goal scoring record as
Record
well.
breakers. But again, don't get this messed up, people. RVP's goal catalog doesn't even make sense sometimes. It's actually a madness. The amount of goals, the types of goals. RVP was a serious, serious player. If you watched him barely, or you need to get a refresher on RVP or some of these strikers, go back and do it. People, I had a lot of fun creating this list. Finally, last one, RVP or the GOAT, Thierry Henry. I think everyone knows the answer.
Come
No
on,
need to
man,
talk
TT,
about it.
man. I don't even need
You
to
already
say it.
know.
But obviously, shout
People,
out to our. Like, obviously, yeah, people hate RVP and understandably so. In it, I think for me, as I've said this too many a time in it, like you can hate a player. I hate the fact that he hasn't, maybe because of the hatred from Arsenal fans, he hasn't really come back and spoken on Arsenal and say that it's his club and all those kind of things. But I think Arsenal at the time done a lot of things. Fabregas left to go back to Barcelona. You know, Man City used to be Arsenal's big older bros to collecting all our players: Kilichi, Sanya, Nasri, Adebayo,
mm-hmm,
all the lot.
mm-hmm,
And this was what we used to be a food chain because Arsenal wasn't moving like a big club. So I don't burn for any player. Like you're basically asking the guys like Sanchez as well end up going to the same Man United. It didn't end up being fruitful. But if it was fruitful, you couldn't have really been angry. Like at the end of the day, like Arsenal weren't moving like a big club at the time when we had players that deserved us to move like a big club and surround them with players that would want them to stay and a wage that reflected their status in the league, status in the world, and just their quality overall. So that's why I can't be angry at these
yeah,
guys as much as I am angry at the time when I was. But as I've got older and I kind of learned things and seen things, it's like, what would you have done?
yeah, it's true. And
It's,
KP, and that's something I find very interesting because I find it's still mixed even to this day. What is this? What 13 years later? About to be 13 years later since that move. I think people still feel some kind of resentment towards him for that move. And again, for years after that, you can kind of see why, especially the early years after that, the first 5 years after that, you could definitely make the case for it. But again, like you said, you start to understand things. Things come out about the situation. He speaks on the situation. Others behind the door. You hear about what Arsene Wenger had to do when he comes and speaks about the club during that period. We hear David Dean speak and other people speak during that time period. You really start to see of how a team that went from being perennial winners in the league or perennial challengers in the league, a Champions League final, how moving the stadium, it really affected us and how we were able to spend. And even if you look at Tottenham, again, you're not sitting here comparing them, but they moved into a new stadium and their transfer policy changed, and no, they're in shit. No, they're floundering down there, and if they go down, honestly, yes, they might be able to stabilize, but that's catastrophic for the club. That
yeah,
could be tons of billions of pounds lost over seasons, and it could be a situation where we don't see Tottenham back in the Premier League for years. Genuinely, that could be a dangerous situation. So for what Arsene Wenger did, for what Van Persie did during that time period, for what other players have done during that time period, for us to build into where we're at, no, back challenging for leagues, back challenging and looking to win the Champions League. I think you have to give that period and that time period a bit of grace. And like you said, also understand we weren't moving like a serious club. And even though it burns you as a fan's perspective, and it will forever burn seeing one of your players you grew up idolizing move to your rival and winning trophies, it will always burn. I do think some kind of when we talk about these kinds of debates, I think it's good to just drop the animosity
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
let's talk
Like,
ball.
like
So
I understand why people have animosity. I'm not gonna act
yeah, of course, 100%.
like it's nothing like I used to, but it's like football's an emotional sport. But it's just like, yeah, when we're having these kind of debates, like I can call a player like for the quality. I don't need to say the story behind it or that makes me discredit their quality. And two, I'm just happy now that Arsenal at a stage where they are keeping the best players, all of them signed. And I'm the main thing, as I said, probably I'll get to this comment is that I hope that we now go and bring in some of these big boy type of attackers, the egos, wages, and the expectation, and bring them in, where there's a different kind of management because then the players that we have in the club, but also saying, right, that we're an attractive option and we'll actually be able to buy and convince some of these guys that maybe aren't haven't been the typical player that we bought. Bringing them over and knowing that, like, you know what I'm saying. Do you know how much a Saliba, Gabriel, or even a Rice will feel like if they see, like, okay, Arsenal are buying 70 million, where they're actually getting, like, let's just say like a Due or
Mm.
Rodrigo. Just to say, for example, that type of player that you bring in a Alvarez or whoever else is a bad boy striker. You're like, do you know what, Fairs, we've got some real guys that I rate, like, personally outside of this and other play for our team. And then them guys come in, hit the ground running, and it's like, okay, the level's up now. I need to turn
Yeah,
up
the
now.
level.
Then you
Yeah.
see these defenders start defending with their lives again properly because they're like, okay, now it's not just all on me. But shout out to Mario. Obviously, hope you're well. Make sure you hit the like button as well. He says the real problem is that Arsenal use two CDMs, Rice and Mendy, with only a single 10 for creativity. It puts too much burden on that player. Literally, facts. Is
Yeah.
which literally why I was saying
100%.
about my lineup in Everton. I would even potentially flirt with the idea of Lewis Kelly there. We definitely miss a Marino. We miss a Odegaard. Obviously, gives you those kind of players give you options to kind of use a 10 next to them because they can kind of do both. Um, and you're not losing, maybe the physicality or the know-how of playing centre mid, off the ball. But yeah, like, I think especially where, like, in terms of we're looking for very much creative and fluid and risk. Like when we've done that in games, probably more like Carabao Cup, FA Cup, and played more attacking. We've seen a lot more play and movement and freedom in the game. And I think that's what we're looking for now.
Yo, you there? Yeah, but what KP was saying, I 100% agree. When you talk about having those two CDMs, we talked about it between me and KP for a very long time about having Odegaard and alongside Asde and seeing what that looks like. Go ahead, boy. I was just finishing your point. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry my bad. Yeah, just um yeah, just to be a bit more open, innit? Like, and maybe we might see that against Saturday. We probably won't because that's when Premier League. That's why it's like I'm at the point now where I'm not so, as long as we win and at least we play decent, I'm not so mad at what the
The
lineup is.
the football has to bring a major. That's my thing, though. It has to bring a major.
Yeah. And I think it will win it. Like, I think that's ultimately, like, it will.
Yeah,
Like, I think
yeah.
the disappointing thing is that we. This is what I say. I can't. I can't criticize the manager so much because I don't think our attackers are that good. And I think the
Mm,
manager squeezed the lemon out of the team, and we playing away. And the fact that we're in all four competitions and still in a good position in all situations, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, we look like, I don't think us attacking line scares any defenses or scares any teams in it. But
mm,
I think, which is the reason why I just feel like we need to, like, just continue, because as long as you get over
yeah.
the line and play, we're not losing games a lot. You'll probably end up winning. I just think it will cost us in a couple of competitions, maybe one or two. The lack of ruthlessness sometimes of football, and a team might just on their day beat us, whether it's a two-legged tie or one-legged tie. Do you know what I mean? So we've got to be careful there, man. I think is
Hmm.
what I'm saying. Shout out. So let me get to some comments.
Yeah, yeah.
Mario says, if you look at City, they play two advanced midfielders behind Haaland in a 4-1-4-1 with Rodri as a single pivot, but they're getting exposed. Which is why I think, obviously, if you joined,
Yes.
I don't know if you just joined
Hmm.
in a bit later, Mario. Obviously, make sure you hit the like button. We were talking about this, saying it's like you watched the game yesterday, 90 minutes, you've seen that many a time, you get frustrated. But then you look at Arsenal playing bad, and I think we played bad. I'm not saying we played the worst, but that we played bad, and we leave with a draw. Leverkusen had their chance that they scored, probably the only chance that they would have scored if they, and
Hmm.
Arsenal should be defending better on the set pieces, as we know. And then you look at it and it's like, Man Cities or Chelsea's that are playing a bit more attacking, a bit more open, a bit more expansive the way we probably want to. And look how they're so open because see chances. Yes, we have better defenders and probably, the keeper than those guys, but maybe not City. But it's risk and reward. And I think at this point, we have to measure out if the risk is worth the reward, if the way that we're playing can also yield reward. I think that's the problem. That's the thing.
But my only thing when it comes to that though, KP, is that I do think you're right, especially when it comes to managing European ties across two legs. I think that's is the main thing. You don't want to especially lose that first away leg because it puts a lot of pressure on the team going home, get the result, especially coming back from maybe 2, 3 goals down. You don't, especially at home. We know we struggle to score a lot of goals. And like Mario mentioned a point, I do think in certain games we can go a bit more expansive in terms of our lineup and having a Lewis Skelly, having an Odegaard there. I think we've been saying this months ago. However, the one thing I would say is that you just don't want to get caught. You just don't want to get caught. And I think I want to ask you this, KP. Do you think the amount of games we play has an effect? Because I also wanted to ask you this when we talked about English football. Do you think the amount of games we play, because Spain has a winter break, Germany has a winter break, France has a winter break. We play straight through. Not only do we play straight through, we have two domestic cups instead of one. And Arsenal are a team competing on all fronts. And I think the way we play is to keep us in games on all fronts and to manage our stamina through a long 70 game seasons, 80 game season, especially with these players going into World Cups, coming back from World Cups with no break. I do think that has an effect, and I do think you can see some of the leggy. The performance yesterday looked absolutely leggy. Whether we're looking at fatigue or whether that's the willingness to go forward. So you could put it down to whatever you want to put it down to. But I do think that amount of games we play is suffering. I think not only the quality and how we play, but I think suffering in the quality in the Premier League, because that's been another point everyone's trying to make. The quality in the Premier League has fell off, and I do think that's just because but the amount of games and the pressure there is to win, and the smaller teams are closing the margins with different styles of play, not really being as open and gung ho as the average Spanish team that want to be more expansive. I saw Gareth Bale talk about this on the overlap. He says sometimes you go into a La Liga game, you're winning by how many, so you can kind of take it a bit light going through La Liga, be able to rest your guys and go into the Champions League. You can't do that in the Prem, especially this team. Every single game is a must win because we're looking at Everton at the weekend. Would you rest? I mean, you could rest players, you can make some rotations, but you can't afford to drop points again. That's another massive game. So you have to trust the quality in your team. So I do think all of those things are big factors to take into account when you talk about the style of play we do have and the style of play of English football in general. So it's a double-edged sword. You're right. You're right, KP, and you're right, Mario.
Yeah. AFC always says came over to drop a like on Gunner Street channel. Make sure you guys, if you're tuning
Big
in
up,
from Cape
bro.
Exposure, go over to Gunner Street. I'll put it in the chat now. Let me do some of the housework, and then obviously make sure you subscribe to his channel. And if you're on the Gunner Street side, make sure you go over to my channel, and drop a subscribe and a like as well. Obviously, shout out Flyberry as well. Join to the stream. How you
100%.
doing, my boy? He
Big up,
says, I
Flyberry.
remember Arteta try and rise at the six on Odegaard and Eze against West Ham, and he switched it halfway through. Obviously, Odegaard came off injured in that
Odegaard
game,
got
so
injured. Yeah.
couldn't try it. And I think obviously you have to think about it, Odegaard hasn't really like the fitness of our team hasn't allowed us to have probably what could be our most ideal into combinations and situations because guys are just never fit at the same time. And then when guys are fit, they're not fully fit, so they can't come in and then they get a knock here and there and they just keep them moving. Like, it's been that one of those seasons, which is why I'm just like all the at this point, all the combinations and iterations. I hope we might see it. Maybe we will see, but just whoever does play, you're good enough to play better than what we have been seeing in it. Because like
100%.
FC always says, George Graham played better football than Arteta will. I don't agree because Arteta's played a lot of better attacking football. I just think we're just playing get over the line ball now. That's what I'm calling
Hmm.
this. I just hope once we get over the line that the football that we play becomes I've got over the line ball. So let me play
Yeah.
ball. Um,
Oh yeah, he's going back to the point about Odegaard and not switching it back out. So he mentioned it was because of injury, to be fair, but he got abandoned it pretty quick. And I agree with you, Flyberry, because even after that, when Odegaard had a run of games, he was doing the Odegaard for Eze, not Odegaard and Eze thing. So again, as much as you want to talk about you wanting that defensive solidity, I said it earlier in the stream. I think Thierry Henry did a good piece of analysis of looking at the amount of goals that's been scored on the counter attack this season. And I think why Declan Rice or why Mendy might not want to play those attacking passes because they don't, or they get tired of having to misplace a pass and then run back after it, bring it back forward, and still go back and do that defensive duty. And then doing that for 75 to 80 games, it takes a wear and tear on the legs. So I think it's a more, like you said, KP, get over the line and manage your legs type of
and
football.
you have to realize that you do see some moments where our midfield or our press does get bypassed and teams attack. Maybe they don't have that quality, or we have the defenders to deal with the situation after that. But I think also, as you say, like there's a lot of teams. I don't think any Arsenal fan will be taking that if we're playing the football that they want to see, and then we're not clinical, not winning games, and then be like, oh, do you know what? We did play good football today, created a million chances, but we lost today or
Yeah.
drew. Do you know what? I'm happy
We've seen that
because
era
then it would
already.
be about, oh, we're meant to go over the line, and
Yeah,
I'm just like, end of the day, we're just at that stage where, as an Arsenal fan, you just have to be okay with what it is for now, as long as
yeah.
it does get us over the line. Because end of the day, if you go and look at the whole season as a whole and not just certain months or moments, especially now we're under pressure. Like we've only lost 3 games all season. We probably won like 40 something games and all. No, sorry, I lied. We've won about 36 games in all comps, but drawn we haven't like, we've only drawn the 7 games in the Prem, and obviously we've won every other game in all competitions because we've won all the games, and it's like it's been a good season. Like in terms of the football, as dross as it is, as boring as it is, as lethargic as it is, as risk averse as it is, as annoying as it can be, it has yielded majority results. Like we got to
Hmm.
call a spade a spade. Like even with that, we were upset about drawing to Brentford and Wolves, but we didn't lose to those teams. We drew.
And then look what happened after.
The Leverkusen game we played that we didn't lose to those teams. Like City fans here are talking about, we just got to hope. It's not over. We're talking about still. I'm still here saying that we can still win. And we should still win a 3-4-0. So it's interesting.
Hmm.
Um, Mario says your analysis has been spot on, guys. Appreciate you, bro. Obviously,
Appreciate you,
your
bro.
questions and your
Appreciate you.
comments have been also quality as well,
Big up,
in my
bro.
opinion.
Big up, Mario.
Um,
KP, think is having some trouble there. Let me see if there's any more comments. Um, says this analysis is spot on. Whistle stop footy, big up. Whistle stop footy. Come on, you Gunners, and be nice to those refs. Big up my guy, whistle stop footy. Um, we're being nice to the refs. We haven't mentioned the refs too much on this analysis, so
no, but that
we're
that
gonna
ref
we're gonna leave
yesterday,
the refs out. But the
that
referee was
ref
shocking.
yesterday was shocking, fam. Like
Yo,
absolutely shocking.
for both sides, I'll be
Yeah, it
honest.
was
For both
absolutely
sides,
shocking. He was just giving
shocking.
yellows everywhere and just doing nonsense. But
He was shocked.
it was,
How Kai Havertz got a yellow card doesn't even make sense to
yeah,
me.
exactly. There's a lot of
Genuinely,
even
genuinely,
Saliba got one yellow
foolish,
card. I didn't understand it.
foolishness.
But
Some
you know,
foolish cards given out.
but make sure you go subscribe to Gunner Street channel
Gunner
here.
Street. Um,
If you're
you
tuning in
have
for
your
Kick
channel. You
Ball,
have your channel pulled up.
yeah, I'll put it there in 2 seconds. Um, Mario says the fact that Guardiola feels the need to field essentially 5 attacking midfield players in every game in his 4-on-4-1 shows that he's overcompensating to get the consistent. Because and also you have to think about this, innit? Like teams play to their greatest strengths. Managers know this, so it's like if you're not a good defensive team, you don't have the same.
Wait, something's
You
up with
know,
your mic, bro.
and it, um,
But going back to this point, Mario, it's interesting because me and my brother were talking about this, and he was wondering why he went with Savinho instead of Shirky in the game yesterday. And I kind of understood why he probably went Doku and Savinho, and then had
understand
Semenyo and then Haaland. Because I do think that you want to be direct. You want to be direct in that game against Real Madrid. You know they have Trent. You know they have not the best left back situation going on right now. You want a Savinho who's going to be direct, Doku who's going to be direct, and then you go. Obviously, you got to get Haaland in there, and Semenyo's been getting you goals. So you're going to want to put as much goal scoring and chance creation as you possibly can on the pitch against a team like Real Madrid, who are just going to go gun ho and do what they do best, and that show their quality on a special European night. So I do get it. I do understand why he did what he did in certain aspects, and I do see your point as well as to why he feels the need. But it's again stylistic. Styles make fights, is what I'd like to say. Pep Guardiola, he knows his team right now, and they're playing into their strong suit. Arsenal know they're, like you said, KP. Maybe Arteta doesn't think the attack is good enough, even with the additions we think we made. Maybe we're relying on our strong suit and going forward in with that. And again, I think that's just how, especially during this period of the season, I think right now you're not going to see too much changing. You're not going to see us playing blister blinding football week in, week out. I think right now what KP said is just get over the line football. Do what you have to do. Because from this position, I think all of us will be kicking ourselves if we don't come away with at least two trophies. I think we're gonna win the Prem, but to be in the final, to get those good runs in the FA Cup, to have a good draw in the quarter and Champions League, you want to come away with at least one, and bring a little man or something else along with you, man. So yeah, I do agree. What about you, KP?
um, yeah, as I said, can you hear me? Like, is it popular?
Mute,
Is it
bro,
on?
mute.
Huh? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Still mute. I can't hear you.
Cool. 1 second.
KP gets that going. Mara said, and even then, still four short. So I think it's how the game is evolving. Unfortunately, Arsenal doing what they have to do. Arteta may have a bit more clever in the game, but it is what it is. Yeah, I agree with you, Mario. Just have to do what you have to do. Is get into that point in time during the season where, again, you might want the swashbuckling football. You might want your team to play a certain way, but right now, it's really just get over the line. Um, Sanin says, look at what the Prem size did today. Forest lost, FA Cup winners drew with the Cyprus team. Wow, I did not see the result of the Forest game. And that's also crazy that who's the FA Cup winners? Palace? Palace drew the Cyprus team. Wow. Some massive results going across Europe right now. And I do think goes back to yeah, I can hear you now, KP.
So I don't know what's going on there. Sorry for the technical
Yeah, bro.
difficulties, guys.
Nah,
But
all good, bro. All
I
good.
was just saying, yeah, like teams play to their strengths. So like City, I think no, they can't defend as well. They don't have the same athletes and quality defenders the way we do, and they have better attacking players. So they play like that. And Arsenal, same thing. I don't think we have clinical attackers when we create a lot of chances. I don't think we do. So Mikel plays to what's probably our strengths and what gives us the greatest chance to win. Um, but yeah,
100%. 100%. We were just talking about that last comment. I do think when you talk about fixtures and the style of play, yes, I do think there is something to say about English football not being at its absolute best. However, though, I do think in terms of the pressure that's on English teams to win and the amount of games we play compared to others and the intensity of the games we play, and the level of the opposition you have to play week in, week out, I do think it's a big ask for these teams that are competing on all four fronts, especially even these teams that are maybe not competing on all four fronts, but a Villa, when their squad is not big enough to compete in so many different and aspects, they don't have the quality and they don't have the depth. They just don't, and which is where you see the Premier League run of form is suffering, and then you see it's carrying into a bit of their domestic form and their bit of European form. So yeah, man, I think there's so many different factors when you talk about English football, especially in this round of games compared to other teams. So yeah, um,
we get the last few comments in before we go.
yeah, yeah,
Shout out Sanin says, look what Prom size did today. Forest
yeah,
lost. FA Cup winners drew with Cyprus team. Hey, English teams have had a bad week, man.
yeah.
Maybe they can all say fatigue, tiredness, whatever. But god damn, it's been
It's
dark.
not
Let's just
good.
say.
It's not good.
Nah, fam, Guardiola, he does use a 4-on-4 in every game season. Yeah, he uses more of that type of base
Yeah,
of
yeah,
formation, and then he plays, different type of players in and around that, different roles. Like I do agree with that.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah, make sure you guys go subscribe to my channel. Here it is. If you're tuning in from Gunner Street side, and make sure you go to Gunner Street's channel to if you're going to subscribe from if you're go subscribe to Gunner Street, but tune in from my side, and obviously we appreciate
And
you
vice
guys.
versa.
Always appreciate everyone that's been in the chat today. Shout out Mario, Sanine, AFC Always, Flybury. Is it Whistle Stop Footy? Obviously,
Yeah,
shout
big
you
up
out as
with the
well.
start. Yeah.
And everyone else has been in the chat watching, just on a little nighttime, late night stream with us two. It's been amazing, to be honest with you. It's been good chat. Make sure you
Peop
guys smash the like button though. Obviously, I'll let Steph go to get to that.
Nah, and yes, smash the like button, people. This is our stream is starting to do well. We're here around the same time every single Thursday. Or we start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please, and what time does that start for you, KP, right now? But is that 11 your time or is that
No, 10 p.m. UK time.
10
So
p.m. 10 p.m. UK time? So people, show us some love and support. Be back here every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 10 p.m. UK time. We're here giving the breakdowns. We're talking about the week, previewing the next week for Arsenal, and so much different kind of content. If you missed, go back and watch that game segment where we talk about RVP versus the list of strikers. I had like 12 to 13 strikers. KP did a really good job breaking down who was better than who. Big up KP for being a great participant. People get involved in the comment section down below. Rewatch it, show some love, hit a like button, hit the subscribe button. And finally, my prediction for the Everton game 3-1. KP went 2-0. And KP, any final words before we get out of here?
just make sure Arsenal you handle business against Everton and handle business against Leverkusen. Need to win those two
Hmm.
games to go into that final with some good momentum and to hopefully secure that silverware. But we'll talk about that next week for sure.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we're previewing
Big,
that game.
big week coming up. Big
Big show
matches
next
coming
week,
up.
the preview
Big
for the
show
final.
next
So make
week.
sure you guys are there.
Arsenal, Arsenal, Arsenal. Get you in the next one, people.
But yeah, guys, make
Peace.
sure you smash the like button on your way out. Yeah. So if you haven't, do that.
Please hit
Peace.
the like, hit the subscribe, and see us back here same time next Thursday. We'll catch you, people. Love for the love. Peace.